Yeah, there is someone.
Shout out to that one person.
Oh, I gotta hang the flag.
All right. Oh, let me put my headphones on. Maybe that'll help. Check. What's up, Atlanta? This is the MOTS Podcast brought to you by Dirty South Soccer in the palatial 680 The Fan Studios, where we are here in the midst of how do you say it? Tatacalypse. And we're bringing it to you hard.
It's tough times right now.
Tough.
We managed to get our way in the studio with things are, crashing all around us, and we made it here despite Tatacalypse.
As a famous professional wrestler named Dusty Rhodes, God rest his soul, might say in this situation, it's hard times, Daddy. And that's really what it is right now. It's hard times for Atlanta United in terms of the media conjecture.
Right.
English and Spanish
that
is surrounding.
Well, it's still good to see you guys. I'm Josh. That's Sam. Eric over there, who was supposed to introduce us.
I didn't.
As you can see,
things
have gone off the rails
from the start
here during Tatacalypse.
I feel like if you're tuned in, though, you know who you're listening to.
I'd like to believe that. We might have some new listeners, though. We
like to think optimistically, and we like to think that people who are watching us know
at least some appearance of professionalism. At least some semblance of professionalism. We got to identify.
Well, what is professionalism, really, when you really think about it?
Right. It's Tatacalypse. I mean,
overrated.
Up is down, left is right.
I'm Eric Quintana. This is Josh Bagriansky in front of me, and to my right, Sam Frankel. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hello.
Can we start now?
Yeah, you may want to adjust the camera a little bit. We're a little off kilter here.
It's just me. It's okay.
Okay.
And shout out to we got 6 people watching live. So welcome in. Of course, feel free to interact with us, especially tonight, because 2 massive storylines. Obviously, we mentioned Tatacalypse, but you've also got the biggest match of the season, likely, maybe in Atlanta United history, coming up with this Red Bulls match this weekend. So a lot to get.
It's a game changer. It's one that's going to look. One, you haven't beat Red Bulls in your very short existence as Atlanta United. This also means that you pretty much clinch, not necessarily officially, but the odds are heavily in your favor that you're going to clinch a spot in the next year's CCL, and you just further cement yourself in MLS history with what's the high? It's like is it 70 points that we have to get to be the highest, the best team in the history of MLS?
The best over. I have to look up exactly what
I got to figure out what that number
last
is.
Year. I know they set the points record, or at least the post shootout era points record. So,
which would be cool to have, especially if Tata's leaving.
You got to jump there already, man.
I'm just there's a lot of I feel like you got to dodge these speculations, these rumors. Like you just have them flying at you every second.
I don't think you can dodge them. There's too many at this point. It's just like trying to drive a spaceship through a meteor storm, man. Just at this point, just kind of close your eyes, hold your breath, and hope for the best.
I'm still upset that, and I brought this up on the radio show, and I don't know, I'm part of the people that sit in front of Tata and ask him questions. And I'm not sure why I didn't ask him this, or why anyone asked him this. But why did no one ask him why he did a Colombian radio station
which
interview?
Basically started all of this a few weeks ago.
Why have we not asked him why he started this interview?
Sounds like you're asking yourself.
Well, like you said, we just kind of
stumbled.
We just kind of stumbled upon that during the radio show earlier. It's like, wait a minute, what was the point? Because he's the coach of Atlanta United. He's from Argentina. Doesn't really have that tie-in to Colombia other than being linked to this job right now, having been linked to it in the past. So why is he talking to a Colombian radio station? Like, why isn't he talking, to 92.9? I get it. He doesn't speak English. But, or at least he doesn't speak proper enough English to do like an English
It's not even that he has to get on a radio show. It's just why the Colombian radio? Like, there were no talks of him going to Colombia until he jumped on that radio station.
And then they're like, oh, hey, wait, we might be getting Tata now, and they all freak out.
That's kind of the fascinating element here is who is driving this speculation? Because as we've discussed many times, Tata Martino doesn't have an agent. So if there's someone, quote unquote, leaking this stuff from his side, it's him or someone close to him, or it's him going on the radio, as you just mentioned, Eric, and instead of just saying no comment on the Colombian Argentina jobs, going on about what great programs they have.
Because if he's asked what he was doing on Colombian radio to begin with, he can answer it however he wants. It doesn't matter. It's just going to give you a little peek as to what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Because if he gives you a completely non-answer, then that in itself would seem like would lend me to believe that he's doing this on purpose.
Yeah, I would really like to know.
If he says like, oh, I have, I almost coached the national team there. I made a lot of friends with the media. Then that makes some kind of sense. But I want to know the backstory behind that.
And that's what kind of got this all started. And that at that point it was.
I'm upset that I didn't ask.
At that point, you still got a chance, Eric. You still got a chance. Maybe not much longer.
It's like, is it weird though if I'd be like 3 weeks later, hey, I know I'm a little late to the party, but why did you go on a Colombian radio station to begin with?
You could phrase it as like, from the media standpoint, all this started with you doing that interview.
Why did you go?
Yeah, okay. Why did you go on there? But
this is what us media types do when we're not on podcasts. We talk about different ways to ask questions.
League media right here. but the recent rumors, it's kind of gone on from that Colombia, Argentina. Now there seems to be a lot of smoke behind this rumor of him going to Mexico. With now the rumors that they are looking to try and announce him in early October as their new manager.
These tweets and these rumors just remind me of the whole chicken and egg debate. Because was he really in consideration for Mexico or for Colombia until he did something like this? Until he does something like this? Like, was he even in the thought process?
Well, the Mexico stuff magically popped up right after.
But same with the Colombia stuff.
Yeah, after he does the interview. But Mexico, he does the interview. Sam, you mentioned this on the radio show a little bit, that his connections are so much more to the continent of South America. He doesn't have a ton of connections with Mexico. So you wonder what would his motivation, obviously we know why they might want a manager like Tata Martino, but what is his motivation to go and take that job? We're going to be under a lot of pressure. It's a good team. It's not a great team. We saw them fall flat on their face again in the round of 16 in the World Cup. They do have bags of money, but what exactly would his motivation be to go to Mexico?
Seems like it'd be a home run hire from Mexico's perspective.
Surely.
But it just doesn't seem like a good fit just based on what we've heard Tata talk about in terms of what he values and what he values about being the Atlanta United coach and being able to come to a much less pressurized situation and really be able to focus on development, focus on building a new team, and not be focused on just this constant political bickering that happens with some of these national teams. I mean, Mexico is one of them. We've seen kind of cycle through a lot of managers going all the way back to Miguel Herrera just because, they either wouldn't give a manager control that he wanted or...
Well, and don't forget Herrera's reign ended when he attacked a journalist in the airport.
That's
so you want to talk about being under pressure from the media.
Probably fairly.
Probably the guy went after
him. Probably fairly. But he probably deserved it.
That's a good point that you talk about that pressure situation. And again, Mexico is the real one that just sticks out as being weird here. The Argentina and Colombia ones, that speculation or those rumors don't shock me because he is Argentinian. So that makes sense. And also he's managed there before and had that job before. But it's like, just he's been there and done that. And he's seen how political that job is. And we've seen it, I mean, basically there were rumors that Messi was running the team. Right, the World Cup.
And Sampaoli, a proven manager, had no control over the team.
So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, does Tata want to get mixed up with that? So, even Argentina doesn't make as much sense as it would seem right on the surface.
I mean, the only reason I think he's considered is that's obviously a job close to his heart.
Of course, and it's maybe unfinished business. We couldn't win that trophy with him. Maybe he feels like if he could go back and sort of be given more carte blanche control, that he would be able to put his imprint onto that team. But I said this on the radio show, and I'll say it again here. The Argentine, national setup right now is as devoid of talent as we've seen it in a long time.
I mean, maybe in our lifetimes.
I would say even before that.
Yeah.
Because
maybe ever. Who knows?
You go back to the Maradona era of the 80s and 90s. You go back. I mean, Argentina is making World Cups. They're playing. I think were they in the final in '78 in Mexico? I think
86.
So.
Yeah, 86.
It was 86. Yeah. But.
And they won
the
World Cup. That's the famous hand of God.
Was 7. There was another Mexico World Cup too that they did really well. It might have been in the 70s. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is this team is very, very dry in terms of that youth.
Argentina.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't have near as much in their system, you know, at the U20 level, at the U17 level. They just haven't developed as well. I mean, this crop of guys right now, there's no Messi, there's no Aguero, there's no
maybe that's the challenge.
Tevez.
But also a big thing with Argentina.
Identifying those, that could be a big
Maybe
challenge for Tata. But that's the thing. He's never stayed somewhere. Like, would he stay? I mean, this is the thing. I don't even think that Argentina right now is a 4-year job. I think it is because you're tasked with building that stockpile back up, and you're also tasked with winning now.
Right.
I mean, it's a double thing.
And I think that's the big thing here is in terms of the attractiveness of the jobs is, you know, if you go to manage an international team, you want to coach them in the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Argentina and Mexico, I wouldn't say so much Colombia because they had Peckerman who just resigned for the entirety of the last 2 cycles. But Argentina and Mexico are 2 places where if you go have a bad Copa America or a Gold Cup or start poorly in qualifying, you're out the door the next day.
And there's no guarantee Argentina is going to make the next World Cup. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Because of
right. They almost didn't make the last one.
That's what I'm saying. It took Lionel Messi going to like Quito and scoring a hat trick, which is very hard to do because Quito, Ecuador is at altitude. But I mean, it just took Messi like putting the team on his back and carrying them into the World Cup. And when Messi's gone, you know, who's going to be able to do that for you? So I think that at least right now, that is a very tough sell for the Argentina job because I fully believe, I mean, you're going to have, in terms of teams trying to qualify for the World Cup, I mean, you got Brazil, you've got, Chile, you've got Colombia, you've got Ecuador, you got Peru, and Peru showed pretty well, in getting to the World Cup. Paraguay,
and Almiron,
exactly. So the number of teams that are going to be good in this World Cup cycle versus the number of spots that CONMEBOL has, there's no guarantee Argentina makes it. So I think that Tata Martino would have to think long and hard in terms of just the amount of talent he has to work with.
But again, that's if we're playing devil's advocate and speculating wildly here.
Yeah, but that's what everybody's doing right now is speculating.
No, I'm not saying that that's just what we're doing. You look at that situation, you're like, all right, well, I could be the hero of Argentina if I can right this ship. If I can find some good talent, if I can develop some good talent over the next 4 years, I can really turn what is a bad situation for Argentina in terms of the federation itself, in terms of the country when it comes to the sport.
But if you don't do it, you're not the GOAT, you're a GOAT. And that's the problem. Like Lionel Messi right now is a GOAT.
He's already that guy, though. I mean, sorry, he's already the guy that they pushed out because they performed so
I get
poorly.
that. But like for example, with Messi, the Argentine public will never look at him like they do Diego Maradona. You know, they don't even look at him like they look at Manu Ginobili. I mean, there have been multiple like Argentinian Athlete of the Year awards that have in recent years have gone to Manu Ginobili instead of Lionel Messi.
But you know, we can sit here. We talk about Argentina and Colombia.
I'm not worried about Argentina, to be honest.
What we do know for sure at this point is Mexico is going to come in with some sort of offer.
That's the only thing we know for sure.
Early October, based on the tweet that's been going everywhere.
I don't even think Colombia's in this.
No, maybe not. No, that's all.
But then why did he go on Colombian radio?
I have no idea, but I don't think because he was asked to go on, and he's like, "Oh, well,
maybe,
I can
maybe to drive interest, just in general.
I can raise my value by doing this." But I just don't think you haven't heard anything from Colombia.
No, not
from anyone in Colombia.
No, and I think we're just maybe in some senses, and maybe the media.
We just hear the name thrown around, or Colombia thrown around.
Why would you not be interested in Tata Martino? But Mexico appears to be the real competitor to try and pry Tata Martino away from Atlanta.
If he goes to Mexico, man, oh my god!
And basically, you had this tweet come out last night from a huge. Is he a TV personality for ESPN?
He's a respected reporter.
Okay,
the most respected reporter,
the most decorated, and respected.
I was very interested in the wording of the tweet because we had seen several rumors from the Mexican press come out about Tata Martino wanting to go there, but they were kind of these typical sensationalized, he's definitely going, he's definitely leaving Atlanta type stuff. Then you see this tweet last night from Jose Ramon Fernandez.
Nice pronunciation.
Not bad, yeah. I can throw a little Spanish in there sometimes.
You
but
try.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an Atlanta United fan, you better have learned by now, at least to say some names. But so basically, his tweet was a lot more technical. It was a lot more hypothetical and basically said Mexico wants him and they would announce him at the beginning of October, but not that Tata is definitely leaving Atlanta, not that he's definitely coming to Mexico. And when I consider it came from this guy who was kind compared to the others who were discussing the rumors, this guy is in stature much higher. It makes me think
less
he's
bombastic.
getting the straight dirt straight from the federation, and that's why you're getting kind of a very technical, choosing words carefully type of tweet where they're saying, confirming there's interest, but not that Tata's going.
Here's the thing, that if this tweet is straight from the federation, they made a mistake here, because
they played their hand, and now Atlanta United knows what they're going to do.
Okay.
Not only more on the long lines of, all right, you didn't get your first choice. Tata's your second choice. Tata's your second choice.
So you're saying that they've already said Tata was their second choice.
Tata's their second choice. And if you don't get Tata, that leaves you on your third choice. You don't want that announced.
And that's what's very interesting
as the Mexican
about
Federation.
That same tweet, I think, again, confirms that we don't know. Tata's obviously not made a decision. Is that same tweet from
or been
Fernandez
offered anything from
says Tata Martino is one of two options after Ferretti.
But they don't tell you who the other option is.
But we think that's Matias Almeida, just based on the former Guadalajara manager, just from rumors we've seen. So the fact that he puts that out there makes me think, the federation can kind of save face a little bit if they get rejected by Tata Martino. And it also shows to me that they're not for sure they're going to be able to get Tata Martino, and that's why they're making it public that they have two guys they have their eyes on, and we assume the other one is Almeida.
The thing that we can definitely come to a conclusion on with this tweet is that clearly nothing has been given to Tata when it comes to this job.
Exactly.
Mexico is going to make an offer, and that's pretty much all we know.
That's the big thing to take away from this, is that nothing's been offered. They might make an offer, but they might.
They're going to.
They might be too late, though. By October 1st, maybe Martino's already been like, all right, cool, I'm staying here with Atlanta.
Maybe so. Maybe so. And I think that's why they also use that kind of vague language. They want to announce him, quote unquote, early in October, because they want to wait and see what sort of decision Tata is going to make over that first week.
He's also being so coy about it, the way that
brilliant.
he's dealing. It's
Martino's
brilliant, but at the same time, I feel like if you're Atlanta United right now, you're in a very precarious position.
Absolutely.
Because
maybe for the first time you've been in this position before.
Yeah. Right, because you want to get out in front of this. Absolutely. You don't want, quite frankly, you don't want us talking about it. You don't want us speculating. You don't want, and when I say us, I mean the media that covers Atlanta United, not specifically
not just us three.
But you don't want this. You want everybody to feel at ease and everything to be fine. So for Tata to be playing this the way he's playing it, while Atlanta United, I'm sure, respects it, I'm sure they're also not ticked off by it, but they wish he wasn't playing it this way because it makes it hard on them.
This is the first time, at least that I remember, that Atlanta United hasn't really had leverage with respect to negotiations. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. What interests me is...
how different is this from when they hired Tata Martino? Because essentially...
He came to them.
Atlanta United could have been like, yeah, you called us, dude. Here's what we're offering you.
Well, that should give you a clue as to what's happening now. That Tata Martino called Atlanta United and said, I want to come. It wasn't the other, not vice versa. What interests me, though, and I think this is going to be the big storyline with just respect to this season, what happens is this needs to be solved publicly sooner rather than later.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I was getting.
Got to happen by the end of that international break in the middle of October. This becomes a massive distraction and affects your chances to win MLS Cup.
I don't necessarily. I think it's a weird. October 1st is a weird.
It's a very weird time. Why wouldn't you just say we're going to wait and resolve this at the end of the season? I get that, your national federations, your Mexico's, Argentina, whoever, they probably don't want to wait. But if they want Tata Martino bad enough, they'll wait. So
it's a weird situation, because if you know he's already going to stay to the end of the year, why wouldn't you make the deadline at the end of the year?
It's very un-Atlanta United because it creates a distraction, like an unnecessary distraction, which is something that they have never done.
To play devil's advocate, though, if you wait till the end of the season, say you go all the way to MLS Cup, that gives you a month to hire a manager.
Okay, you're still not going to hire anyone until after the season ends anyway.
But if you have a definitive answer in first, second week of October, then you have time to go.
But you can be negotiating behind the scenes that whole
Sure,
time.
I mean that's the other thing is he tells people privately what's going to happen, or he tells the team, or at least the club is, like you said, Sam, working on a backup plan. But it's tough to do that. I mean, how do you try to court another manager and say, but our first choice is actually Tata Martino. We're going to wait to see what he says, and we'll get back to you after that.
That's the game, though.
And that's
like the gamble you got to take.
That's true, and that's the position Atlanta United are in until we get something concrete on this.
Concrete.
I do-
Concrete.
I would like to know. I would like to know whose idea the whole October thing was. And by the way, that's not. I use the word deadline, and I probably shouldn't have. That's when they're going to basically sit at the table and have a discussion about this whole thing.
With respect to the offer that we already know that he has received.
Right.
His own words, he has an offer from it.
Yeah, didn't he say he was like reviewing their offer?
Yeah.
I got to imagine that they're going to come back with either he's going to like it and he's going to sign it right then and there, or he.
I doubt he signs their first offer.
I agree. Or he's going to try to leverage everything that's going on.
He might get an improved offer now.
Well, you at least in negotiation, you always have to go through the double down technique, where whatever offer they give you first, you just immediately say, "Hey, double it," and then that's how a negotiation starts. Yeah.
I wonder how much LNI is willing to spend though on him.
I mean,
if they paid him, I think the rumor is, or I don't even know if it's a rumor anymore. But Barcelona was making somewhere around $6 million when he came to the United States.
He's on record saying he made less. He was making significantly less.
Yeah, significantly less.
I still bet for an MLS manager, though, he's making good money.
Would you be okay paying him $5 a year?
$5 million?
I mean, personally, me, Arthur Blank's the owner, I'd give him whatever he wants.
I mean, that's peanuts compared to what you're paying every other coach. Any other coach.
You mean anyone? You mean in other sports?
Anyone. Yeah, any other coach anywhere.
I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. Like, for example, just like in college football, off the top of my head, like Nick Saban makes like between $7 and $8 million a year. So, I mean, if you're paying Tata Martino $5 and he's delivering you championships and or contending for championships every year, yeah, I mean, in the world of sport, that's like a bargain. But we're not talking about the world of sport. We're talking about the world of MLS managers.
It is interesting though, because the fact that Martino came to Atlanta in the first place shows you he's not all about the money. And that's really,
which is why I'm so weird. I'm so weirded out by it. Look, if it is a tactic to get more money, then I'm with you. You brought it up a couple of weeks ago how you think it could be trying to leverage more money for his coaches.
Yep. Or to more control within
the club, which I could fully understand, especially if, like we've heard a couple of times now, Tata has not had a lot of say or has not had a lot of contact with the players that have been brought over.
And you know what? This is rampant speculation. The Ezequiel Barco transfer. I'm so curious about how that whole, know
that whole
for a
thing plays
fact
out.
that he. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he was happy to get a player of that talent level, but we know that he's not the one that's going and identifying these players in South America. He's kind of like a recruitment cheat code where you identify the player and then say, "Oh, by the way, you want to come play for this dude?"
The forced trade is yes.
We've talked about this all season. He doesn't really fit Tata Martino's system in terms of a high press.
I will say he doesn't fit it now.
Fast tempo type of style.
He's a square peg in a round hole.
Absolutely, and I agree with you, Eric. I think the best is yet to come from him. I think he's a great young talent. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole now because we have so much to talk about anyway.
Well, we talk about this on the radio show. Though right now he's not in Atlanta United's best 11.
But I think Barco coming to Atlanta, basically in place of Yamil Assad, and we assumed that Tata was not the one again that wouldn't identify. He wasn't his guy.
I'm pretty sure Barco said he didn't have a single conversation with him until after he had already been signed.
So you sign this guy who doesn't fit your.
Don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure that was the conversation.
And Julian Gressel, like you said, Sam, has saved the day, but that forces you into a 3-5-2, which you can't high press in, you can't possess the way you want in. And Tata Martino has shown great flexibility this season to kind of change his system a little bit. But a big reason for that is because you swapped out Barco for Assad. You wouldn't have found a player who doesn't immediately fit your system. So we talk about having more control within the club. I think the Barco signing and what has happened thereafter and the way he's not the best fit for the system maybe embodies that lack of control that Tata wants to get in this contract that he signs. Just speculating, but now it hasn't been easy to manage Ezequiel Barco.
The players that he has had, some players that had, he obviously wasn't here for. He's got Tito Villalba, who he had nothing to do with.
Signed before he was even announced.
Yeah, Cameron Jones, obviously. McCann. Look, as much as I don't necessarily think McCann fits the system, but he's been usable.
The only thing that worries about McCann is how much the money
he's cost.
Yeah. So let me ask, because this is the other.
Was that it? Was this three guys?
I think. I mean, those three. I mean, maybe some randoms. Yeah, like Tim Backus,
Jeffrey O'Toole.
Man, we are getting super Atlanta United hipster here, aren't we? Getting with those names. But
I remember when we first discovered like Jeffrey O'Toole was on the team because MLS released their salary sheet, and Atlanta United had Tambakis, McCann.
We had 4 players when everyone thought we had 3.
And then Jeffrey Otu's like, who the hell is this guy?
Young star.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this, because this is really the big thing, and it's whether Tata leaves now or 2 years from now or whatever. Has Atlanta United established the foundation to kind of not miss a beat when he leaves?
I think it really depends, because I think his system is an integral part
Absolutely
of why this team is successful. So what do you do with, the players that you have now? Can they fit into someone else's system as well as they do here? Ezequiel Barco, I think Tata's done a very good job of managing that situation. What happens under a new manager? We still don't know a lot about what's the word I'm looking for here? Barco's, intentions. Just because we've seen him come in, disrupt team chemistry with a very selfish decision.
on and off the field.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, because on the field we've talked
the
about
off the field
before.
decision was selfish.
Right.
On the field, a bad fit.
But we've talked about.
I was let's not get too hung up on Barco because.
Well, no, but I'm just saying we talked about on the field before where it's not necessarily the best fit. So that's something you have to look at in terms of managing him for the next manager. So there's a lot of work that a new manager would have to do to keep things going the way they're going, and what kind of managers play these systems, and also what other managers are out there would recognize this team, maybe have one way you'd want to play, but realize the talent for this team makes you're playing better another way. Then that's with the 3-5-2, because that's not Tata's preferred formation, but he's realized it's very successful with the players he has on his roster. Would another coach have that sort of insight?
Let's dive into there was a question from the Spanish media. I believe it was the Spanish media that asked him after the win over RSL, 2-0 win over RSL, was asked regarding the decision. This is from Felipe Cardenas from The Athletic. Basically, I'm just reading the tweets. He didn't ask the question. I don't think he asked the question. Anyways, last night regarding the decision to stay or leave when Atlanta United was referred to as a team you created, it's like one of your children. These decisions are difficult when you have a fondness for your place of work, when you have a fondness for the club, when you have an affection for the people that work alongside you, when you have an affection for the players, an affection for the city and the fans. It's very difficult, but I also know that these decisions have to be made. Commitments have to be honored. The worst thing to do now is make a hasty decision. It's very important to think this over.
I mean, that sounds like he's gone. I mean, if you're,
I wasn't convinced there. But then I think he was asked something very similar again. And he said this: if I talk about my personal situation, I'd be diverting the attention from a team that is so close to accomplishing several things. It would be a shame to sidetrack right now, although I know eventually I will have to.
If you hear that talk,
The second part of it, I'm like,
October
nah, he's
1st,
probably gone.
I'm a little worried. But
now that we know that there's no way he has a contract from any federation on the table, I'm not as concerned about this, but I didn't know this at the time that he said this.
but he also might not have a physical contract on the table. But through back channels, like we've talked about here, if he's had people reach out to others or whatever, he definitely knows ballpark what an offer would be.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So there might not be a concrete offer, but if there are federations interested, he knows what they're offering him.
So so you guys tell me, is he going to stay or is he going to go?
I think he stays. I'm like 90% sure he stays.
The thing is,
you were 99%. Can you believe Eric said he was
dropped.
99% sure?
I'm convinced.
Emails with
I'm
Tata.
convinced this is all.
That's what these journalists in Mexico sound like. He's gone. I know it.
No, because I'm leaving the 1% to the stuff that I
1%.
have no proof of, like his wife not adjusting well to the United States, or
99% is climate change real?
Well, I'm going to say
99% is not.
I'm going to say 60-40 stays versus goes, and the reason I have none of that has anything to do with anything any South American or Mexican journalist has reported. You know why? Because we've been burnt on that issue more times than I could count. Andres, sure thing to Atlanta United, Guardado. You know what I mean? So
that's true. And a lot of these the same personalities. And I want to bring up another really important part of this. You kind of mentioned the. Oh, go ahead, Sam. Where you going?
I only said the 40. I didn't say the reason I think he's staying.
Okay, well, go on.
Well, yeah, just
go on.
So the thing is, it has nothing to do with the only thing that the reason I have anything to believe he would leave is what he said. like the comments that he has put out there. That's the, I mean,
Interesting.
because like you said there, that sort of almost sounded like a swan song that Eric was reading in that one tweet where
it toward the end it did. I was like,
yeah, so he's gone. But then
Philippe and I both talked about it after the game. I don't know if he wants me talking about this, but I don't think it's anything. And we both were like, yeah. At first I thought I was like, all right, cool, he's saying. And then he finished his statement. I was like, all right, we both were the same mindset that. Yeah, that kind of made me a little more nervous.
Well, he got like super emotional or not super emotional, but you know what I mean. That's very like reflective talk. Yeah.
And to play,
what a bad own goal.
To play devil's advocate, we're watching the U.S. Open Cup here. Oh, is it 3-0 Houston now?
Yeah. Philadelphia just scored one of the worst own goals I've ever seen in my life. Oh boy,
that's saying something for what we saw from Mencien over the weekend.
We can go ahead and tell you that Houston is going to the CONCACAF Champions League because of this.
That's what it looks like, unless something crazy happens. But
sorry to interrupt.
I wanted to mention one, I think, critical thing of that. You guys have kind of hit on the nature of the Mexican press, and Jason Longshore brought this up on Soccer Down Here today, and I thought it was a very great point. And oh my God, that's a bad one. Is that Trusty?
What?
The 19-year-old?
I mean, he turned it right into his own net.
Oh, that's bad.
It's like he was trying to shoot into his own net.
What?
Why did you do that?
That's not even close.
That looks like a Joseph Martinez-esque tap-in. I mean,
I love that this happened right in the middle of us, like trying to talk about Martinez.
That's worthy of an investigation right there. Because that
was match fixie as hell.
Yeah.
he turned it into his own net like he was trying to.
That looks like he had some points on the spread or something like that.
That's a rough one for Philly. Anyways, so going back to it, so Jason Longshore brought this up on Soccer Down Here this morning. When Tata Martino was rumored that he was going to come to Atlanta United, the Club America job in Liga MX opened up at the same time. And you saw a bunch of report from the Mexican media, oh, Tata Martino is going to Club America. So we're kind of seeing a similar dynamic now where the Mexican media are, as we said, speaking in absolutes and driving a narrative hard. They do their own that's what they always do.
They do their own federation disservice by doing stuff like this.
Because
now, even though it might have just been like, quiet flirtations on the side over here,
right?
You've already said, oh, they're definitely dating. And now when you're wrong, you make them look bad. Oh, absolutely. You couldn't get the girl.
And that's why I think this tweet that came out from the most renowned personality of all that we've seen was so purposefully technical in terms of treating the situation as a hypothetical and explicitly mentioning that there are two potential options. So if the Martino thing, as you said, Eric, you get some egg on your face, you can save face and say, well, we always had another plan lined up.
Exactly. The problem is it takes two sides to be Facebook official. And it's almost these Mexican journalists are acting like, they have all of this information that they don't actually have.
Well, they're hearing rumblings, and my guess, like I said, is the Federation or somebody went directly to Fernandez so he could leak this, both, first of all, to let people know it's not a done deal, so they could potentially save face later, like you said, Eric.
Because, by the way, Mexican fans don't seem to like the idea of Martino.
Yeah, shocking.
You look at them all over Twitter, and they're not very high on him.
What's the last manager they liked?
I mean, that's a good point, but
you think they'd like it if they hired Landon Donovan? He loves Mexico now.
All right, let's hit some of the response on the YouTube chat. Clayton Thompson, some of that in regards to the rumors. Basically coming from Orlando fans deep in the cellar looking for fake news or leaking fake news.
That's best case scenario, honestly.
Gustavo Rodriguez, I'm with Eric. 80% he stays, 20% Argentina, only if he drops Atlanta United. Rest is just lobby, trial balloons, like we say in Argentina. I'm almost convinced he's staying.
We'll see. I also want to read some of the responses we got from our Twitter poll earlier, which is basically, is he leaving? Is he going? First of all, we got 66% he's staying, which is not super surprising considering who's voting on this. But some of the responses that interest me, the first one from TCG, Thomas Guin. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, man. But basically said the number of good World Cup type jobs that will be open between now and 2022 will be higher than 10. Mexico, for example, will probably hire and fire 2 coaches in that period.
Don't take the first thing.
Exactly.
I think that's a good call.
And that's something we've talked about. If you go to an international job now, particularly a place like Mexico, to be fair, Mexico can say we kept Osorio the entire last cycle. We've turned a corner.
Yeah, like under protest of every single fan.
And we certainly know Argentina will fire their manager, at the drop of a hat. So I think that's one of the more interesting points that we got was that if you want to coach an international team, this isn't necessarily the time to go.
Does it make sense if I say it like this? Like, I don't know if he's staying, but I know he's not going. Does that make any sense at all? I'll try to explain it. Okay, so
go on.
Okay, so
Very curious where this is going.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So when I say he's like, I'm not sure if he's staying, because he has made it pretty clear that he's not sure if he's staying. But he also hasn't said, I'm leaving. So that's what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he's not like going, because he hadn't said anything to make you believe that. But he also hasn't said anything to make you believe that he's going to be Atlanta United's manager next year. So I guess in a sense, that's why I say that, like, I'm not sure if he's leaving, but I know he's not going because he hasn't said any. It just like he's not. When I say going, I mean not actively looking for like a way out. You know, he likes Atlanta. He's talking about how much he loves being the manager here. So hopefully he stays. I just at this point, I feel like common sense should tell me, Sam, you're making too big of a deal out of all of these erroneous reports because, again, all I have to say is Andres' surefire thing to Atlanta United Guardado and how quickly that crumbled. And some of the other things we've seen linked. You know, we've seen players linked to Atlanta United here and there that, you know, sure thing, this guy's coming to Atlanta. Some report out of Argentina, some report out of South America. And the team had never even heard of this player. And obviously it never happened. So, I mean, we've seen a lot of erroneous reporting when it comes to South American players, Mexican players, Hispanic players in general, and even managers and stuff like that.
Like you said, the culture is different down there, and just in terms of how the media is, particularly
what constitutes
with regards to
it's because
soccer.
the thing is that they become more. They're like us. We're fans,
right?
Yeah.
We're also the difference with us is that we'll get in real trouble if we show up with our Atlanta United.
They don't have restrictions in the press box like we do here, to where like if you're a reporter covering Club America versus Chivas, I'm sure there's a bunch of stomping and cheering in that press box.
I mean, just
like
when
they don't have
you
those
guys
same standards.
had told me about the differences in the Atlanta United press conference from the English portion to the Spanish portion gives you a clue.
Yeah.
And then one's not better than the other. It's just different.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's completely different. And so that's what I'm saying. Like Eric hits the nail on the head when he's talking about these guys are fans. It's not what I guess is expected of you in terms of sourcing a story or just running with something. It's much more tabloid-esque down there than the standards up here, where it's like you have to have at least two sources before you can go with anything, and it's just much looser down there.
I just know that, I don't know, but you get that sense that they are, like loose with their sources. If it's a friend that happens to work with the team, they'll just run with whatever they say. I know that one of the problems with me getting my U.S. men's national team credential when I first applied for it was that my Twitter bio had American Outlaw stuff all over it. And so they had checked that, and that's the reason they had denied me at first. When I further explained who I was,
I'm not a fan anymore.
They understood, and they gave me a credential. But one of the issues that they said was like, yeah, we have problems where we're in Mexico, we credential someone, and they show up with a Mexican national team jersey, or the clubs down there will allow their press to bring their
The first few Atlanta United games.
We even saw it here at Bobby Dodd. Well, no, not
right?
just cheering at Bobby Dodd. There were people with Atlanta United jerseys on.
I don't think they were actually pressed. There were a lot of people that are allowed in the press box
that
aren't pressed.
Gotcha.
There was cheering, a lot of cheering though, from people that were new to the sports culture.
there was cheering. There was an awesome moment this past week when Julian Gressel scored his goal. Or was Julian Gressel's the first goal, or was it the second goal?
It was the first.
When he scored his goal, there was like a loud eruption in the press box, like behind us, and like Eric, everybody sitting down there. We all turn around, and we see some of like the Atlanta United staff like scrambling to tell people to not cheer. It was actually pretty funny.
It was one of those oh yes type of strikes. And
So
should we move to RSL? I mean, we covered Tatacalypse.
There's not really a whole lot to talk about with RSL as much as there is Red Bulls, I would think. But obviously we can start.
Let's hit RSL quickly. And then we'll do a little Red Bulls. I do agree because Red Bulls is
really the story with RSL is how well George Bello looked in his debut as an Atlanta United starter. The Julian Gressel goal, the Tito non-own goal somehow magically is credit to him or whatever.
MLS is just amazing. They have the right to overrule.
I would say there are 4 big storylines from this game. The first one is George Bello and how absolutely great he looked.
Composed.
Going forward, not being caught out, just everything about his play. He played very composed, very much like a professional. Another one, Julian Gressel. The goal itself was great, but it's just a testament to how great he has been for Atlanta United, coming from being a second-round pick to just this jack-of-all-trades player who's been good at every position you played him at and has become a vital part of this team to the point of he cannot be dropped from the starting 11. So you have that. I would say you also have the emergence of the Remedi-Nagbe pairing in the midfield, really solidifying things and just causing things to be a little more fluid. And then I think the fourth one, is just kind of a consequence of that. The roles of some guys that were starters and surefire starters early in the season, Jeff Larinowitz and Ezequiel Barco, both of those guys may find themselves not in their starting positions anymore because of the way that Barco and Gressel and Remedi have all played. They seem to have anchored themselves in those spots. And
Nagbe, you mean, not Barco?
That's what I mean.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's a big story from this game.
Nagbe, Remedi, and Gressel are keeping Barco, and I know Larinowitz is playing, but he's filling in for guys on the back line. He's not going to just automatically jump back into that midfield role. In fact, I think in an ideal scenario, you have him to come off the bench for one of many roles. So I just think that is a very undersung storyline from the Salt Lake game, is a continuation of the good play in that partnership with Nagbe and Remedi and what it does to some other players.
I'm almost surprised at how it didn't surprise me Laurentowicz and Remedi clicked quickly because they're both kind of
similar
holding
style.
Mids, and Remedi is a little more of a ball winner and Jeff's more of a straight 6 in front of the back 4, which makes them a good pairing. But I was definitely surprised that Remedi and Nagbe paired so well because Nagbe he's not a straight defensive mid. He wants to get forward and kind of be that connecting mid. And Remedi we've seen as a guy that wants to win the ball everywhere. He wants to run out wide and win the ball. So when I saw that pairing the last few matches, or I guess it was just Colorado and then Real Salt Lake, I was really surprised that they paired so well because both of them are kind of center mids that their movement is a big part of their game. And so you worry about them both moving out of that critical space right in front of the center backs. But instead, they don't
do that. Even off the ball, they don't seem to separate themselves too much. And when they do, one's backing up the other.
Amazing.
I think that's one of the aspects that is kind of overlooked by a lot of people is that they don't even have to be on the ball. They don't have to be defending anyone. Their spatial awareness is fantastic. And it's not to say that it's bad with Larinowitz or Remedi, or Larinowitz with Nagbe. It's just different because both of them can contribute almost not necessarily the same. I think Nagbe's better going forward, but they can both contribute that ball going forward, that overall movement going forward into the attack. Whereas Larinowitz wasn't that guy. You didn't see Larinowitz pulling like an LGP every now and then. He was strictly, I'm back here.
He's more of like a safety blanket type. Yeah.
Remedi and Nagbe can kind of almost switch off when they want.
It's a brilliant problem to have because you can.
It's not even a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
it's one of those good problems, right?
I guess when it's a problem for Larinowitz.
Champagne problems, as Eric's been saying. But
that's from Tata.
I mean, how brilliant is it? Really?
Yeah, he's. I think that's where I first heard it.
God, it's brilliant. I mean, just think about it. You have the potential to come out with an effective, versatile, athletic attacking duo with Remedi and Nagbe, or you have the potential to do a more calm, conservative defensive mid pairing of Laurentowicz and Remedi. That is such a weapon when you go into the playoffs and you're going to be in 2-leg series where you're going to have to be playing matchups and you might be defending a lead at 1 second and then suddenly have to chase the match at the next moment. But whether it be within a match or from the first leg,
I'm just thinking like halftime adjustments.
Or even, and we mentioned this on the radio show. I mean, say you win that first leg 3-0, then you're starting Laurentowicz and Remedi and playing most likely and playing a little more conservative. So you can really play matchups and throw different looks at teams with that defensive mid or holding mid pairing based on the personnel you have there. And it's like that at a lot of positions. It's like that, I think, now that we've seen Bello. You can play Bello or you can play McCann on the left, and you have an attacking left wing back. You have a more defensive left wing back in McCann or out and left back. On the right side, you have Julian Gressel, who is more of an attacking right-sided player, get up the pitch. Or you can put Escobar over there if you need to defend a little bit more and focus on the 1v1 defending down the right. So almost everywhere you look on the pitch, except with Joseph Martinez at the number 9 position, there is depth, and there is depth that plays a little bit differently than that player in front of them. So how do you prepare for this Atlanta United team? I mean, we mentioned this on the radio too. Atlanta United has basically just trotted out a fake 4-3-3 lineup graphic on Twitter in the pregame and played a completely different shape because they're so versatile. They have guys that can do different things that you look at it and you go, I can't figure out based on the personnel if it's going to be a 3-5-2 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1.
I think that's the beauty. That was the beauty for me of this game is that I saw them in a 3-5-2. I don't know what the hell Atlanta Twitter or social media was doing. I saw them in a 3-5-2.
Oh, they got a wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I'm sure, but yeah. I saw the 3-5-2. I saw how well that looked against RSL. Who RSL look? They're not chumps.
No, and they've been playing very well
as of late. Yeah. I looked at that. I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best starting 11 we had. We didn't have Barco on the field. We didn't have Parkhurst in the field. We didn't have who else? Am I thinking of? McCann or Garza on the field. Yeah. I'm thinking this is the best 11, and I had to stop and think, nope, this can't be because Parkhurst, Barco, and McCann, Garza, whoever isn't in the game. I'm looking at Bello, how well he's doing. The fact that I was not concerned, but the thought crossed that, oh my gosh, he's going to score before Carlton does. And he's a defender. There was his movement off the ball, on the ball, his defending. That kid is, I hope, going to be a star because that kid, the way he moved, the way he cut into the ball that Joseph plays to the left that ends up getting back to George Bello. He ends up having to kind of cross it through, across the face of goal. If anyone had been in the box at that moment, that would have been, I think, the play of the game.
Yeah,
the moment of the game.
And again, you see...
Forget Gressel's amazing goal, which amazing it was.
Right.
Forget that. But George Bello doing what he did, that's not something McCann does.
Absolutely.
That's not Garza does it, but he's not as great on the ball. So he might have made that run. He might have had a good first touch. But I think, I don't even want to say he would have a good first touch. I feel like that's 50-50 at times.
That first touch that Bello took on the chance you're referring to in the box is difficult for any player.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff we see Miguel Almiron.
It's the next touch that doesn't do him all that great, but whatever.
Well, that's okay. And he actually ended up playing a pretty good ball. But so often when you see that ball, basically Joseph, it shows Joseph how much trust he has in Bello. He plays him a ball to his feet at pace, because they're inside the box, so there's a lot of pressure. And Bello has to control that ball at pace and beat his marker, and he does that. And again, that's something that you're used to seeing from an Almiron. It's something you're used to seeing from a Villalba or a Joseph, but it's not something you're seeing from not a bad player, but a seasoned veteran, Chris McCann. It's not something you're going to see from even Julian Gressel, maybe not so much.
I don't see it from Escobar. I don't see it from Garza. I don't see it from McCann.
I don't think you see that from a Remedi, maybe even not that that's why they don't play up that high, but don't underrate what a special touch that was for a 16-year-old.
I don't think I've ever seen Tito make that touch.
Probably not. He'd probably just shoot it I mean, it's that play really, really stood out to me. For a 16-year-old to be able to do that just shows a natural technical ability. This kid's going to be one to watch.
It's one you don't see from a lot of, that's the word I'm looking for here. It's one you don't see a lot from players that I guess have developed in the United States like all that often.
Also true. The technical creativity, the ability to make a decision under pressure on the attack so quickly. And hopefully we're starting to see it more and more as the young crop comes
I think we're seeing it with like Andrew Carlton and guys like that. We're seeing more of that technical ability.
Absolutely. And credit in a lot of ways to Tony Ann and the Atlanta United Academy for honing these guys and developing them and making them confident.
I wonder how much that moment for him was a product of the practicing with the first team.
And we
I wonder how much
this,
how much that influenced that
moment. I think a month ago when he first got called up to the first team, and I think Joe Patrick was on with us that week, and he had just done a feature story for Dirty South Soccer, and he said, I think the reason the club is not only pulling up to the first team, but also making him publicly available for media interviews and kind of pushing him as a brand shows you that this kid is going to get some serious minutes later in the season once he's acclimated. That's exactly what happened.
Because now you can officially, I think, with Bello in there. I don't think it works with McCann and Garza. I feel like even if he is healthy enough to play, I don't think he's gonna be fully fit until. I don't think he's. The
timeline on Garza is very iffy.
I don't think he's back in the starting 11 for the rest of the season. I'm not saying he's not going to play,
maybe,
but I don't think he can get fit and kind of reacclimate. I don't know what he's been doing, but if he hasn't been playing, exactly. If he hasn't been playing meaningful minutes at this point, I think you got to look at Bello as someone that can really take your 3-5-2 and turn it into a true powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Because you sort of got that in Escobar. Escobar is not great going forward, but he's capable.
Yeah,
he's better than McCann. He's better than what he had in Mears. He's better than
Mears.
I'm just saying, like, you didn't have that last year, and you have him that
not.
he at least has that. I don't know, that willingness to go forward and to be a guy
like a winger in the last third, not a fullback.
But you don't have that on the other side, not as well, especially without Garza. Garza again can do it, but again, you're looking at Bello, who just did what he did this past week.
Yeah.
He defended so well.
Led the team.
He had some fantastic tackles for a 16-year-old going up against grown men. I just think he takes your 3-5-2 and he elevates it to a level where at halftime you can switch to it and you're fine.
One last
you can go into a match knowing that you're going into 3-5-2 and you can exploit the wings.
Right. One last thing on the 3-5-2. I know we want to get to New York and give a full preview there. The Atlanta United's 3-5-2. It's easy to call it a 3-5-2, but it turns into a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-1-2 because basically, and actually I wrote a story for Dirty South Soccer, shameless self-plug, kind of about how Atlanta's 3-5-2 works, is they leave Miguel Almiron, who's in that center attacking mid position, and then Tito Villalba and Joseph Martinez, the two forwards, high. When they're defending, they leave those three players up top and get them to start the counter. So if Almiron just left and Tito just right, it's a 3-4-3. If Almiron stays underneath the two forwards, it's more of a 3-4-1-2.
I love the fluidity.
Exactly. We say 3-5-2, but it's just such a fluid formation. It can become a back forward as well.
All the time. And that's the thing. You have players kind of going forward, dropping back. I mean, it's a 3-5-2, but it's like it's a living, breathing 3-5-2. It's not something that's locked.
Sometimes it's a 5-3-2.
It's amorphous. Exactly.
And I think this is just me personally. I think that this is Atlanta United's best formation. I really do.
I don't even want to go back to the four-man back line.
Me neither. And
we had been saying that from the beginning when they started with the 3-5-2.
Yeah, that's true. We were all over that one.
But the thing is that they were forced to play that. And it almost works out in their favor because, look, they've got the 4 back line. They got the 4-2-3-1. They got that down.
Yeah.
They don't need to work on that anymore.
And I still think we will see that.
I agree. Depending on who we play.
It's all about matchups.
Depending on who we play, what the situation is, what the scenarios are for aggregates and
you know what a great time for 3-5-2 could be is this weekend against New York Red Bulls because I mentioned this earlier on the show, on the radio show. The Red Bulls are the only team that I've seen kind of beat Atlanta United at their own game in terms of pressing and dominating the tempo. When you play a 3-5-2,
it pretty much stumps Atlanta.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a punch in the face to start the match.
The game here, they absolutely bossed the game and gave Atlanta United some real questions to think about. But I think in the 3-5-2, because it's meant to kind of sit back and soak up pressure and then go on the counter, that in a lot of ways nullifies their high press. Because if you're going quick and direct, and as opposed to knocking up the ball around and in the opposition's half or playing slow out of the back, it kind of nullifies the high press because you're not really high pressuring anything because you can get out quick and go counter. So that's why I think this Red Bulls match really lends itself to 3-5-2 because it is a counterattacking formation. In a lot of ways, that makes the high press less effective, and it spreads out New York Red Bulls a little bit when they try to press. And then, like I said, you leave Almiron, Villalba, Martinez high to find pockets and go and counterattack.
You got no BWP, Bradley Wright Phillips.
That's a big one
for this weekend.
And that's a position where there's very little depth as well for the Red Bulls.
I mean, that basically makes this game. Like, if he was playing, I would be much more concerned, but I just don't really have a whole lot of concern facing a New York Red Bulls team that doesn't have it.
I assume we'll see Etienne.
I'm concerned because he's not involved in the press. And so
right, true.
Red Bulls, they can make it a 0-0 draw easily just by their press.
But that's what's interesting, though, because a draw doesn't suit them. They have to win them. I mean, respect to Supporters Shield, and at the same time, maybe conservative and get the bye is the way to go. But they more or less have to go for the 3 points, and you're missing Bradley Wright Phillips. So it does put you in a bit of a precarious position because you can't just.
But knowing that, like, if Atlanta United was down Joseph Martinez, we'd still play the same. The expectation would be, all right, well, we're going to have to find it from someone else. Red Bulls obviously have that someone else. It's just you don't know who that's coming from. You don't know where that's coming from. You expect it to come as a product of the high press, as a product of creating a mistake in the back, and anyone up front happens to just sweep up the garbage. You expect it to be more along those lines. You don't expect them to create much without Bradley Wright Phillips because everything feeds towards Bradley Wright Phillips.
I do think in the one player, well, there are two, but the guy that is probably going to look to score those goals is Daniel Royer. The only other he has 10 goals this season, so he's the only one that's been scoring at a high clip. Obviously, you've got Kaku, the number 10 for the Red Bulls, but he's more of a playmaking type. So Royer, who I would expect to see playing on either the right or left side, I think his matchup with the fullback, whoever that is probably going to be a big determination in whether New York Red Bulls can find that goal that they're kind of missing without Bradley Wright Phillips in the lineup.
Do you expect from Atlanta's side, first of all, just mainly starters, we don't expect George Bello to see another start, do we? Is it curious that we're seeing Bello start and not Carlton?
Right. Well,
Carlton got his start, but
yeah. But it's also
much more a position of
that
need.
Wing and that wing back position, which Carlton is not suited for. But that wing back position is obviously it's a lot of pressure, but that's an easier place to make a debut for a team.
My thing is
you're always in space. You've got three defenders.
But you can't make the case that Tito or Almiron or Gressel or any of those guys aren't tired or wouldn't.
But even then, there are far too many guys in front
from
of Carlton in the pecking order for him to break in.
Who's in front of Carlton? Bargo's on front of Carlton because Bargo is in timeout for something.
We've seen Barco, and I mean the big surprise for me is we've seen Vasquez come in wide a little bit. I think the reason we haven't seen Andrew Carlton as much is because your wingers are already attacking. If you're chasing a match, you're not going to sub off Villalba or Barco or Almiron or Gressel. And since Carlton's not a defensive-minded player and struggles with that part of his game, you can't really sub him on late when you're defending a lead.
See, I thought we'd see him against Colorado. San Jose, I can understand why he wouldn't get in there.
He got like six minutes against Colorado. But I agree. I think for whatever reason, Tata Martino has limited his minutes when he's had a pressure-free opportunity to play. Because he could have easily played 20, 25 minutes against Colorado, and he didn't. And we've seen that several times where the result's been out of doubt, and yet Carlton's only got 5 minutes or so instead of a real run out. So but it's also possible Bello is just better.
Formationally, what are we looking at when it comes to Atlanta United, and who are they trotting out there? They trot out because here's the thing: if you expect normal starting 11 to go out there because of how big an impact this game can make when it comes to CCL. When it comes to Supporter Shield, all that good stuff. There's no room there. This is not a game for the kids, right? This is not a game for George Bello to make another start. This is not a game for 3-man back line if you don't have everyone clicking all on the same level when it comes to 3-5-2 when it comes to everyone being intact for that formation. Like without McCann, without Garza. Are you playing a 3-man back line? The
thing is, right, exactly. The big hole with the 3-man back line has been McCann's.
Because he was just
not his fault.
He was just out because he was tired.
But McCann's not a great wing back. Like maybe an out-and-out left back because he's a good 1v1 defender. I actually think McCann has played better when he's played at center back this season. But obviously there are a bunch of guys in front of him in the pecking order. Personally, I might start Bello again. I don't think Tata's going to do it, but
I would.
He's
I understand what you risk here, but he looks so good that I don't worry. Now, okay, I say that, but I take it back because again, it's different when you're going up against a team that presses you.
And you're on the road.
Imagine
it's a better
him.
opponent.
Imagine him with a lot more pressure, two guys coming down on him, and him freaking out as to what to do with the ball in that moment. I'm not saying he would. I'm just saying that is a scenario that crosses your mind.
That
as a
would
head coach.
be a lack of composure, the inexperience showing. But from what I saw against RSL, he's already a better fit for that position than Chris McCann.
Oh, I agree.
But like you said, Eric,
fully agree.
Inexperience can result in mistakes that they're not tactical, have nothing to do with good or bad fit, just losing composure on the ball, and obviously that can cost you goals. But man, I don't know. I might start him anyway because he was
he just looks that good, right?
And what impressed me was that exact thing that you just said you're worried about, Eric, was how composed he was. You know, he completed 80+% of his passes. Sam mentioned this earlier. He was always in position.
I don't think he made a single real mistake.
Not really. There were a couple of, and he actually mentioned this himself in the post-game interview. 1v1 defending, he can work on that a little bit, but
it still looked good. No, time out though. It still looked good.
Absolutely.
It still looked good.
There were a couple times Savarino got by him, but they resulted in like half chances. That's one of the great parts about playing the 3-5-2 is even if your wing back gets beat, you've got three center backs behind, so you can let the outside center back go cover on that wide position, and the two center backs just slide over, and you're not outnumbered in the middle. So he still has that safety blanket behind him if he does get beat 1v1. But I do agree with you, Eric. Overall, defensively, he was very impressive as well.
The Red Bulls and Atlanta United have met 3 times. The first meeting that was the first game ever.
First game ever Atlanta United game at Bobby Dodd Stadium.
That was a 2-1 defeat.
Lost to Lee in the last 15
that sucked.
minutes.
Next time we played them, it was a 0-0 draw, and then
that was a weird game. I think Guzan made save of the season
earlier this year. 3-1 loss for Atlanta United when it comes to playing the Red Bulls. So we still have not beaten the Red Bulls. It would be a great time to get the first one against the Red Bulls on Sunday. It really would.
No better time. No better time to do it.
Basically,
if you do it now, you pretty much bury the season.
You basically
for the supporter shield. Yeah.
Supporter shield. You basically
you clinch CCL if you win.
In our books.
I think you outright clinch CCL.
What was the scenario with Dallas?
The scenario with Dallas is for supporter shield.
Okay.
So, but essentially for supporter shield, if you win this weekend,
you're in.
You just have to win one of your last 3, and that includes a home match with New England, who aren't bad but are very poor on the road, and Chicago, who have been a complete mess. And then you go to Toronto, who will probably be playing for nothing on the last day of the season. So if you go and beat Red Bulls, it would take 1, a collapse in the last 3 games, and 2, the Red Bulls
it would take a bad run of form that Atlanta we have not seen,
and a great run of form from either Red Bulls or Dallas. So I think it's already looking very good. The San Jose win was so massive in that way.
You look at the way they played against Toronto FC. And I'm not saying Toronto FC is bad. I think they have struggled. I can't tell you why they have struggled because the talent is pretty much the same they had last year.
We could do a whole other podcast.
You could really that needs a deep investigation, a deep scientific study as to why they're bad. Because I honestly, you can talk about CCL and the drain but still,
it's been long enough to recover from CCL to
not only long enough, but you performed well in CCL. Why did that not translate?
And there were some injuries at that time, but those players are all back. Drew Moore's back, Mavinga's back.
You can't always explain why a team is doing poorly, just because you can't always explain like how Leicester won the Premier League. It just kind of happened. It's just kind of like with Toronto.
Lost season for them for sure.
Anyways, the goals they scored, the chances they were able to create, even with Bradley Wright Phillips in there, I'm not gonna say it's look, we haven't beaten them yet, so I'm not gonna say that this is the game that Atlanta United should win, especially without BWP. This is a game Atlanta United should win. Will they win? I don't know, because they seem to struggle against Red Bulls mightily. And it's not the same as the way they struggled against DC United, because DC United just kind of – Atlanta United found a way to play to DC United's level, and DC United beat them.
Well, DC United gave the Red Bulls all kinds of problems in that 3-3 draw a couple weeks ago. I agree with you, Eric, and I don't think – it's still a very good team. I don't think it's quite as good a team post Jesse Marsh.
I agree with you, because I don't think
cohesion we're seeing on the pitch.
I don't think there's that intensity, that dedication to pressing like there was under
Mhm.
Jesse Marsh. I think it's a lot more relaxed.
It doesn't look quite
It's not as
as
crisp. It's not as smooth.
calculated. And we're going to see it. It's still a very, very good side, but I agree that under Chris Armas, good, but I don't think they scare you from an execution tactical standpoint that they did under Jesse Marsh.
I think the difference is the coaching during the match.
Very possible. Yeah,
Any kind of
he's
tactical
been-
adjustments
Yeah.
or whatever moments where he could share with his players, where he could help them adjust on the fly. Those moments, that's what Jesse Marsh gave you. That's why you paid Jesse Marsh, and that's what made Red Bull so good. You don't have that anymore. I think a new voice, a different voice, obviously is going to create some kind of, it's going to have some kind of diminished effect towards the players, towards the teams, towards the way they play, the way they press. And that's what's been happening. I mean, again, they're not bad. They've got
It's still
3 wins in the last 5 games.
Yeah,
They've got
it's still
2
one of the
draws.
best teams in MLS. But
They've only
we're just
lost
saying,
1 in the last 5. They're not bad.
we think we're the best team in MLS, and they don't scare us as much as they did a few months ago.
They,
But we're going to see.
I
But
get
that's the thing.
nervous with the Red Bulls.
That's
Red
a
Bulls I get nervous about.
dangerous attitude to have against just the wiliest of wily veteran teams in the New York Red Bulls. They're one of the stalwarts, one of the standards of MLS, and they always seem to be good. They never seem to drop too far down,
Despite not spending a ton of money.
right?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think, but for me,
Is it a must win? I mean, I know it's not, but
It's a must win.
It feels like you need to win this game, A, to show you can beat them, and B, to bury them.
come on, guys, it's not a must win.
Technically it's not a must
of course
win.
it's not a must win.
Right. Okay. So it's not technically a must win, but I think mentally that's a huge hurdle to clear. Not just to beat
But
Red Bulls.
it's a team that, well, it's not a team they're probably going to face in the playoffs, but
Well, no, you might see them in the conference finals.
you might see them. Yeah, so you might see them again. You want to make sure that you're taking care of them. So it's a must win in that sense. It's not a must win in terms of the points.
And I would say the last kind of monkey that Atlanta United needs to get off their back is the stats going around about how Atlanta United have beaten more playoff teams than anyone else in the league. I think you need to look a bit closer into that statistic and realize playoff teams includes the Montreal Impact. Potentially it includes teams like Seattle, RSL, but you haven't beaten Red Bulls yet. You drew with NYCFC twice this season. You lost to FC Dallas. You lost to Sporting Kansas City. You did get the great win over LAFC. So, yeah, you have a lot of win over playoff teams, but other than the LAFC match, you haven't really gone out and beaten one of the quote-unquote elite teams. A team that's not just a playoff team, but a team that expects to compete for a conference title in MLS Cup. So I do still think mentally it would help a lot if you can go to New York and beat a team that
They scored
is potentially the second best in the
the
league.
fourth most goals in the league. Their goal differential is
Red Bulls are a plus 23.
the second highest next to us, next to Atlanta United.
Mhm.
So I mean, they're a fantastic team.
Very
they don't
good.
have their main goal scorer, so
and the
that's
best team in the league at home. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the best team at home in the league. NYCFC.
this
might have some say.
is why I don't think it's a for sure thing like I did against San Jose. Even though
Look how that
apparently
turned out.
that
yeah.
was not a for sure thing for sure. But this is a team you need to go in there and face them. This game should be treated like a playoff game, like a warm-up playoff game.
So let me ask you guys then, since we because I do want them to treat it like that. So do you go there to try to take it to them, knock them out early, or do you kind of, and this is regardless of formation, do you try to feel it out first 15, 20 minutes?
I think
and then
you treat
see?
this however you want to approach the first leg of a playoff game. I think it's or the away
leg, which would be the first leg.
Yeah.
Which
this is how you want it. Then that's why I think it's almost perfect. So in New Jersey, you have this opportunity to treat it as such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I agree. And like we just said, you're going to go on the road. Unless you lose Supporter Shield, your first leg is going to be on the road, guaranteed in the conference semis and conference finals.
Which, I mean, is huge. We've seen this team, obviously. Sure. They're a very good team at home and on the road. I mean, there's not really that much of a difference. But, I mean, to be able to play in front of 70,000+ at home, I mean,
it's a big advantage.
You can't beat that.
All right, Atlanta at 63 points. Again, they need 3 more to, well, not necessarily solidify, but it is a big a big help for Atlanta United too in the Supporter Shield race and the CONCACAF Champions League race, I guess, which isn't really much of a race anymore. Red Bulls in second place in the East. They got 59 points. So battle of first and second. And again, Red Bulls still have a chance to surpass Atlanta United when it comes to that first place spot. So they're definitely fighting for something. And we'll see how that turns out.
I mean, I think what we see this weekend will pretty much determine whether it's going to be a race to the finish or not.
This match will let me know if Atlanta United is playoff ready. Like if
just the result itself, or the performance.
Play. Yeah, they can draw and still if the performance is there. Yeah,
because if you go to New York in the playoffs and you get a 1-1, 2-2, and then you're coming back to Mercedes-Benz, you're fine with that.
Absolutely,
you're fine with that.
I'm not worried about a lot. If you lose this game and it looks bad, I'm gonna worry. If it's a draw and you played well and it's just dumb luck that you didn't get the win, it's not great, but it's an understandable result, and you get a better sense of what this team could look like going into the playoffs. That match, Sunday, September 30th, 1 p.m. That is going to be – what channel is that on? No, so it's going to be ESPN and Fox.
It's
right?
on ESPN's main channel.
Is it ESPN?
It's going right up against NFL kickoffs at 1 o'clock, so I know a lot of Falcons fans, combo Atlanta United fans will have the
if you watch the Falcons game instead of this,
you're dead to me.
There's no reason.
I was
going to say
don't listen to us ever again, but I don't want to say.
We need the numbers.
Keep listening to us, but you're out of the club.
This is 2018. There's no reason to have to pick or choose. You can watch both.
No, you
must full focus. Sounds like Sam's going to do the double dip over here.
Of course, I'm doing the double dip.
Yeah,
I can't watch the Falcons.
No,
the job that brings home the bacon for me requires me to watch.
Fair
enough.
But does the start time? The early start time, you think that you guys think that has an impact?
I don't really remember
because
the weather's supposed to be great.
They're going to be up there Saturday, and they're going to have all day at that day to just kind of,
to breathe in New Jersey, baby,
from the plane and stuff like that.
I want to hear you guys. What's your 11?
Oh boy,
do we all want 3 at the back?
Yeah, I think it just depends on who's healthy. Obviously, you would go.
You can figure McCann in there because the only reason he was out is because of rest.
Would you say does Lorenowitz go to the bench then?
That's the thing. If Parkhurst comes back in,
you go on McCann, Parkhurst.
Escobar could come out too.
Yeah, I was going to say Escobar.
Okay, McCann, Parkhurst, and either Escobar or Lorenowitz in terms of that 3.
No, probably Perez.
Oh,
yeah, right. McCann would be on the left.
That's right. So McCann, but does Bellows?
Right. Well,
I don't think. We'll see soon enough.
So you've got I don't know.
Yeah, I'd go probably McCann, Parkhurst, LGP, and either Franco or Lorenowitz in that third kind of right center back spot. Right, and Gressel on that.
I would probably say Lorenowitz over Escobar because of how, I guess, better a defender and how much more at home he'll stay.
Although maybe if you were going to have. If you're going to have Bradley Wright Phillips in this game, that'd be more of a Lorenowitz kind of defensive, more minded player. Whereas,
also, I think that right center back. I worry about a 3 at the back with 2 players in Parkhurst and Lorenowitz with no pace. I like a lot more with Parkhurst or Lorenowitz kind of anchoring the back 3, and then you have Perez and Escobar on either side with a little more pace that can cover and can also kind of provide a safety blanket for those wing backs should someone break through. So me personally, I think I'm sitting Lorenowitz because I like what I saw from Remedi and Nagbe. So that's your 2 center mids. And then you go Escobar right center back, Parkhurst anchoring the back 3, and Perez playing at left center back. So to me, I think we might see Lorenowitz the odd man out. And then obviously you're going Villalba, Amiron, Joseph up top. Going to be very interesting. Very interesting to see what the 11
We will see on Sunday how we get this wrong. And
that's
hopefully we're talking about a win on Wednesday. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, gentlemen?
Can I just briefly say, I am never, ever, ever going to watch the English broadcast on Unimas. Ever.
Is it Phil Cantor?
No, Nico.
Nico Cantor. He's the worst.
Your dad's a legend, and you're just terrible.
Well, the only reason he has that job is because his dad.
Can we just walk through the quote unquote controversial VAR in San Jose.
You seem to be very passionate about this.
Well, this is unbelievable. They literally misled the viewers because I'm sitting there thinking, wow, Atlanta really got a break for 2 reasons. First of all, for some reason, there was no camera of the referee actually going to review the play for like 30, 45 seconds after they showed replay. So you didn't realize the play's being reviewed. Then they thought the review was the offside. They thought they were reviewing Chris Wondolowski being potentially offside, which he clearly was not. Then when the goal is reversed, the very next shot you see is Joseph about to take a penalty. So there's no connection. As a viewer, you're saying, okay, goal's reversed, and then all of a sudden you see the ball at the spot. You don't see and then I listened to the radio broadcast, and they were all over it. Jason Longshore, Mike Conti were all over that there was a potential handball. So they do that. They don't explain the situation, and then the gall to say that a minute 40 passed between the handball and the goal.
I could not appreciate the obsession with that minute and 40 seconds thing.
That was just not true. It was 30 seconds, and so basically everything worked as it should have. And me as a viewer, you as a viewer, lots of other people as a viewer are thinking, wow, we really got lucky there because the play ran for a minute 40 when it had actually been 30 seconds. I mean, it was just, I heard a lot of people were syncing up their radios.
Whenever it's on,
I'm going to do that from now on to listen to Spanish broadcast.
Well, you can also buy,
just listen to Spanish broadcast.
They have these tape delay radios that you can set to where it delays the radio and you can sync it up.
That's what I would do that, or if you got DVR, you pause it and try to sync it up. But I just shame on them. We've already talked about how terrible that coverage is, but this was just straight up misleading the viewer.
It's not as bad as like when you have to watch it on like Univision's Facebook page and they just read Facebook comments the whole time.
Well, no, that's what I want them to do from now on because
I'd rather them do that.
Because that means they don't inject their own stupid opinion into anything. I am very angry about this.
Yeah, you sound like
we should go.
We are a little late on a contest we put out there.
Oh yeah,
so
Patreon. Yeah,
Scott Pittman, you are a winner. So Scott Pittman, if you're listening to the podcast, you're a Patreon donor. So I imagine you do. Send us motspodcast@gmail.com and I'll try to reach out to you, but try to be proactive about this. motspodcast@gmail.com. Scott Pittman, send us your information and pick something out of the Atlanta United store page or whatever. And then I got one more, and we'll do it to Cameron Cook. Cameron Cook, if you are listening, I'll try to reach out to you as well. But again, if you can, try to be proactive. I'm going to give you guys a couple prizes. Send me your info, motspodcast@gmail.com.
And we'll continue to do these types of giveaways for the Patreon members as we go forward.
Yeah, and we also
3 weeks to a month or so.
And we've also sent a Fanatics.com online gift card to a young woman named Shelby. I don't have her last name because that's all it said on Twitter was @Shelby.
Can you believe someone got Sam a Tata pin?
I know. I just asked if somebody would do it, and they did.
Why did you just give him one and not all three of us?
Because I asked for it.
Because he was the shameless one
I was
on
one that
Twitter and
asked
said,
for
"Can
it."
someone please get me a pin?"
So
start asking.
we have sent her a $20 Fanatics gift card.
Shelby?
Shelby, yeah.
Ask for something
That's a big
ridiculous.
listener.
Ask for something ridiculous and see if people give it to you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, that's just hey,
people like you,
Hey.
Josh.
hey. If you're nice and you pay it forward,
Like
we
ask,
pay it back.
ask for like a new mattress. See
There
what
are a bunch of
happens.
people that read my VAR article. That
What do you
still
need?
don't
Like, what do you need in your life right now?
A mattress? I don't need.
I'm just throwing it out there. Like, what do you need right now?
I will say that this Tata pin looks way more like Larry King than Tata Martino.
Yeah. Larry doesn't really look like
Yes,
Larry
it
King.
does.
That's not what you want to look
I'm not getting away from this. What do you need in your life right now, Josh?
Oh man, girlfriends.
Okay, well I can't get you that for money. I mean,
No,
I-
that's
No,
great.
Russian mail order bride, bro.
You can't put a price on dating this guy. I mean, come on. Do you?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Look,
it should be free. You
Who
shouldn't have to pay
else
anything
will point
for it.
out the differences to you between a 6 and an 8 and a 10 and a 9 and a 3.52 and a 4?
And do it very condescendingly.
And do Well,
I mean, I know-
you can't lose here.
I know a
You can't
couple-
lose.
I know a couple people. You could probably explain it too.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Let's say
That's
this for
that's when
off
it gets
air.
condescending right there.
Yeah,
Those specific people.
exactly.
What do I need? What do I need?
Yeah,
I need new cleats. I need
new cleats.
Yeah.
Someone give Josh new
I
cleats.
need new soccer
Let's-
cleats. I'm
let's
a big
just-
Okay, I
fan of
wanted something that
materials.
costs $10. You
Let's-
want something that costs like $150.
Yeah, well, he said anything will
Let's
work.
see if that works. If you want to send Josh new cleats, just hit us up on
Mercurials, please. Mercurials.
Or
on
if
the
you want to
podcast.
take him on a pity date.
That too.
Or both.
Make
You
sure
can
you
give me
Yeah, you can give him cleats.
Yeah.
This sounds like an awesome date. The person has to buy you cleats and take you.
make sure you're willing to pay for the dinner as well, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, Josh.
Depends how much the cleats cost.
I'm just saying.
I want triple digits on the cleats, and I'll buy you dinner.
And Josh will take you to Hattie B's.
Josh has shown me his bank account. He has shown me the amount of money he does not have. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I
Josh
just
will
show
take
you
you
my
down,
bank account.
or much closer to Josh's place of residence. He'll take you to Nana G's. You get some chicken and
Absolutely,
waffles.
yeah. And I'm always I live in East Atlanta Village, so I'm always hit part
He's
of
around.
town. So you can find me.
All right, we got to get out of here. This
Where's
is
the skinny
definitely-
jeans?
Oh no,
no,
no.
On that note, yeah,
How dare
Josh,
you.
we got it. Okay,
You
we're done.
accuse me of needing a mattress and wearing skinny jeans.
I didn't say.
within
I
2
didn't
minutes.
accuse you of needing a mattress. I just said, what do you want? A new mattress? Like what?
Dude,
What is something?
I just like
I
that
kinda
your mind
figured-
went there.
I kind of just figured that everybody that lives in East Atlanta needs a mattress and wears skinny jeans.
That's
So,
At least one of the two.
Well, there's not a lot of people that are trying to get you free stuff. I'm trying to get you free stuff. Here.
Well, I appreciate
Whether it's
that.
a mattress or not. Look. All right.
Anyways, Twitters, hit me up.
Yeah.
Twitter, Josh914
I'm at Eric G. Quintana.
At Sam J. Franco.
and at MOTS Podcast.
Right.
To follow the podcast at Dirty South Sock, Dirty South Soccer for all your Atlanta United news.
And if you like other talk about, like the Falcons and Georgia Bulldogs, and we don't really talk Georgia Tech because why would we? But 6 to 10
Of
a.m.
course.
every Monday through Friday. It's the morning show on 960 The Ref with yours truly and David Johnston. Give us a listen. You can just stream us 960theref.com or TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff.
If you want to donate to the podcast, patreon.com/MOTS podcast. Again, we're going to continue giving away prizes so long as we have the support. And so that's where you guys come in. Feel free to donate as little or as much as you want. The more, the merrier, of course. So feel free. All right. With that said, that'll do it for us. Catch you later, Atlanta.
Adios, Atlanta.
Nice.
All right. I am going to bounce because 10:30.